Rick and Susanna lived what seemed like an ideal life. They owned a large home in a quiet suburb, had two loving children, and enjoyed financial security from their well-established careers. On the surface, everything was perfect. Yet, beneath this calm exterior, troubling secrets simmered within the walls of the Wamsley family home. It wasn't until an unexpected 911 call set events in motion that the truth began to emerge. Just before the holiday season in the small town of Mansfield, Texas, local police received a mysterious open-line call. Responding quickly, they arrived to find the home's side door unlocked and two garages wide open. What awaited them inside was a horrific discovery. Rick Wamsley, a respected accountant, and his always optimistic wife had tragically lost their lives in their own home. As the investigation unfolded, it became clear that the tragic incident had taken place well before the 911 call had even been made. Rick and Susanna Wamsley first met as classmates in Oklahoma during the 1970s. Though they didn't become high school sweethearts, they left an impression on each other. Years later, as Rick pursued his studies at Oklahoma State University and Susanna attended a Christian college, their paths crossed once more. Their old connection reignited, and before long, what began as a casual reconnection turned into something more serious. The two began dating, and soon enough, they knew they wanted to build a life together. They married, and in 1978, their daughter Sarah was born. 6 years later, they welcomed their son Andrew. Rick found success as a certified accountant, working in the oil and gas industry, and over the years, his career saw the family relocate several times. Eventually, they settled in Fort Worth, Texas, along the banks of the Trinity River, a large yet tranquil city steeped in history. Rick opened his own accounting firm from his home office, providing the family with a comfortable income. By 2003, the Wamsleys lived in the upscale community of Mansfield, just 20 miles from Fort Worth. Their daughter Sarah, now 25, had become a mother and moved into her own apartment. Their 19-year-old son Andrew had just graduated from high school and was attending college part-time while working at a mini golf course. Rick and Susanna were celebrating a happy life together, having marked their 25th wedding anniversary that summer with friends and family. As Christmas 2003 approached, Susanna eagerly prepared for their holiday celebrations, adorning the house with festive decorations and carefully selecting gifts for her loved ones. The living room sparkled with lights, and a large Christmas tree stood proudly, surrounded by presents wrapped with care. Everything seemed perfect for the family's 25th Christmas together. But the peaceful scene in Mansfield was shattered on December 11, 2003. At 11:41 p.m., a 911 dispatcher received a call from the Wamsley residence. On the other end, there was only silence, indicating that someone may have been in distress but unable to speak. Acting quickly, the dispatcher sent officers to the home. Upon arrival, the police found the side door leading to the garage open, but no one responded to their knocks or rings at the door. Once inside, officers were confronted with a grim sight. Susanna Wamsley, 45, was found lying cold on the living room couch. Rick, 46, was discovered in the foyer near the front door, lifeless in a pool of blood. The emergency responders quickly confirmed that both had been dead for some time. The investigation revealed horrifying details. Susanna had been shot and stabbed multiple times, even after she had likely passed away. It appeared she had been attacked while resting in the living room. Nearby, detectives found bloody palm prints, a bullet, and fragments of a broken hair clip, all crucial pieces of evidence. Rick had also been shot and stabbed, but his injuries suggested he had fought back against the attacker before succumbing to his wounds. A tuft of hair in his hand pointed to a violent struggle. Despite initial suspicions of a robbery, the discovery of $15,000 in cash left untouched in the master bedroom led investigators to dismiss that theory. Nothing of value had been taken, and there were no signs of forced entry. Neighbors and friends, stunned by the tragedy, could not fathom who might have wanted to harm the Wamsleys. Rick and Susanna were beloved members of the community, known for their kindness and hospitality. Outwardly, the Wamsleys had a picture-perfect life. Rick's accounting practice flourished, and Susanna took pride in caring for their home and children. Yet, the horrifying events behind the closed doors of their house painted a starkly different picture of what was happening within their family. According to those close to the Wamsley family, tension often simmered beneath the surface, especially when it came to their children, Sarah and Andrew. As a teenager, Sarah was sent away from the family home due to what her parents saw as inappropriate behavior. This led to her becoming pregnant at 19 and entering a turbulent relationship with her daughter's father. Her relationship with her younger brother Andrew was equally strained, as the siblings constantly quarreled, never developing a close bond. Sarah's ex-boyfriend shared that the Wamsleys were skeptical of outsiders, often believing that even their friends had ulterior motives, assuming they only wanted something from them. Despite their growing financial success, it seemed to bring more tension than joy to their lives. There were rumors that Rick and Susanna's marriage wasn't as stable as it appeared, though they did their best to maintain an image of happiness in public. The Wamsleys had a clear agreement with their children. As long as they were enrolled in college, they would receive financial support. While Sarah didn't follow through, Andrew managed to convince his parents that he would keep his end of the deal. To reward him, they bought him a new white Mustang, covered his insurance, and gave him money for his expenses. Though Andrew lived at home without contributing financially, things seemed peaceful, at least on the surface. However, Andrew had also dropped out of college without telling his parents. When Rick and Susanna discovered the truth, they cut off his financial support but did not go as far as to kick him out of the house. As tensions lingered, 19-year-old Andrew spent most of his free time with friends at a local pancake house, a popular hangout spot. It was there that he met 19-year-old Chelsea Richardson, introduced by a friend. On the morning of December 11, 2003, Sarah was informed about her parents' deaths at 4 a.m., but Andrew was nowhere to be found. The police had already turned to the media, asking for help in locating his white Mustang. While forensic teams continued working at the Wamsley house, Andrew and his girlfriend Chelsea unexpectedly pulled up in the Mustang. The two had been staying at Chelsea's house for the past few days and claimed they had just learned about the tragedy from watching the news. Both were immediately taken to the police station for questioning. During his 45-minute interview, Andrew told officers that he hadn't been home in days and hadn't spoken to his parents. He revealed that he had been staying with Chelsea the entire time. Though there were fresh scratches on his hand, nothing else in his story seemed suspicious, and he was free to leave. However, before leaving, the police asked him to sign a consent form allowing them to search his car. Later, Andrew told his sister that investigators would likely find their mother's blood in the Mustang. He explained that Susanna had recently cut her finger and for some reason decided to drive his car to the store afterward. While this could account for the blood traces, Chelsea's story aligned with Andrew's, and she confirmed that they had been together for the past 2 days. The couple had spent most of their time playing a Japanese, a fantasy battle game that brought them closer. Their bond over the game was so strong that they had begun discussing marriage, feeling like they had found in each other a perfect match. Chelsea Richardson's mother fully supported her daughter's relationship and was fond of her new boyfriend, Andrew Wamsley. However, Rick and Susanna were less than thrilled about their son's choice. They had envisioned a different kind of partner for Andrew, someone who would align more with their affluent lifestyle. The Richardsons, who lived on the outskirts of Fort Worth in a working-class neighborhood, were far from the upscale homes of Mansfield. Chelsea's family had faced hardships, especially after her father's unexpected death from a heart attack. Her mother often worked multiple jobs just to keep the household running. Despite their financial struggles, the Richardsons were known for their generosity. Chelsea, with her extroverted and bubbly personality, was popular at school, earning her the nickname Bubbles. She was especially close to her best friend, Susanna Toledano, who frequently stayed at the Richardson home whenever she had issues with her own family. On the night of the Wamsley murders, Andrew, Chelsea, and Susanna were together, spending time at Chelsea's ex-boyfriend Jeremy's house. Jeremy confirmed their alibi, claiming that they had been with him the entire time. Despite this, Sarah Wamsley, Andrew's sister, suggested to police that her ex might have been involved in their parents' deaths. She mentioned that they had recently been fighting over custody issues, and she had even threatened to involve Child Protective Services. 1 month prior to the tragedy, another suspicious event occurred. While driving home after horseback riding lessons, the Wamsley family's Jeep was hit by what they initially thought was a large rock. However, upon inspection, they discovered a bullet hole in the rear of the vehicle. Although frightened, Susanna Wamsley made 2 phone calls, first to her son Andrew rather than the police. She had thought the car trailing them belonged to Andrew, but after the shooting she realized it was not. Despite Sarah's suspicions that her ex might have been involved, investigators eventually ruled him out as a suspect. Attention soon turned to the Wamsley children, particularly because Rick and Susanna's estate included a $1 million life insurance policy and significant assets. Both Sarah and Andrew stood to inherit substantial wealth. However, forensic evidence didn't initially link the siblings to the crime scene, and Andrew's alibi appeared solid. Even though blood was found in the back of Andrew's Mustang, the car had been meticulously cleaned, and investigators couldn't determine whose blood it was. As months passed without significant progress, the investigation hit a standstill. The district attorney decided to convene a grand jury, issuing subpoenas to key individuals connected to the Wamsleys. Jeremy once again testified that Andrew, Chelsea, and Susanna had been with him the night of the murders, offering them a solid alibi. Susanna even voluntarily provided a DNA sample for comparison with evidence found at the crime scene. The investigation took a pivotal turn when Susanna's DNA was matched to the strand of hair found in Rick Wamsley's hand and the broken hair clip left at the scene. This discovery shattered the notion of an outsider being responsible. Susanna was arrested and faced the possibility of the death penalty. Realizing the severity of her situation, Susanna began to talk. She initially claimed that on the night of the murders, she had been with a friend, a 25-year-old man named Hilario Cardenas, who had a gun and needed money. According to her, Hilario entered the Wamsley home alone while she waited outside. However, as investigators dug deeper, they suspected that the truth was far more complicated than Susanna's initial story. Susanna Toledano initially claimed that after hearing gunshots, she rushed to the scene. According to her, Rick Wamsley, the family patriarch, begged her to stop the attack, but she insisted she wasn't truly involved and had no way to prevent it. However, this story quickly began to unravel. So who was Hilario Cardenas? Hilario, a night manager at a local restaurant where Andrew, Chelsea, and Susanna often spent time, had become familiar with the group. He had a young daughter to care for and was in desperate need of money. It was through his friendship with Andrew that Hilario learned of the Wamsley family's wealth. During questioning, Hilario denied taking part in the murders but did admit to purchasing a gun for $200 at Andrew's request. The teenagers, Andrew, Chelsea, and Susanna, wanted to practice shooting at a friend's farm. Investigators began verifying Hilario's story, starting with the owner of the property where the group had allegedly practiced. The owner, a friend of Chelsea's mother, confirmed that the teenagers had indeed visited her 3-acre plot to shoot at a nearby pond. She also stated that she had no knowledge of Hilario, who later gained the trust of investigators by passing a polygraph test. Forensic teams drained the pond on the property and recovered bullets that matched those found at the Wamsley home. This proved that the group had been practicing their shooting skills for months in preparation for the crime. With the discovery of matching ballistics, Susanna's initial claim about Hilario leading the attack fell apart. Given another chance to tell the truth, Susanna changed her story. This time, she implicated her best friend Chelsea and revealed a more detailed version of the events. According to Susanna's revised account, the 3 teenagers had spent numerous nights at a local cafe plotting the murder. They believed that once Rick and his wife were dead, Andrew would inherit over $1 million, and the friends could live a carefree life together. Susanna dreamed of quitting her low-paying job and buying a new car. The group convinced Hilario to purchase the gun. After honing their shooting skills at the farm, they devised their first plan, to shoot at Rick's Jeep's gas tank, hoping to blow it up and eliminate Rick, his wife, and Sarah all at once. However, when Susanna, riding in the white Mustang behind the Jeep, missed her shot, the group switched to Plan B, breaking into the Wamsley home in the middle of the night and staging the scene to look like a robbery. After the failed car attack, Chelsea became enraged and pressured Susanna to finish the job. On the night of December 11, 2003, the group made their second attempt. Armed with a gun, Susanna entered the house, while Andrew and Chelsea carried knives. Susanna confessed to shooting Susanna Wamsley while she lay on the couch. Andrew then led her to the master bedroom where she fired at Rick but missed, hitting the headboard instead. Rick woke up and fought back, leading to a struggle. During the chaos, Andrew took the gun from Susanna, handed her a knife, and instructed her to check on his mother. Susanna saw Rick kneeling, pleading with Chelsea, asking, "Why?" Chelsea coldly replied, "Because I'm pregnant," before Rick was shot. Susanna wasn't sure who pulled the trigger but knew that multiple knife wounds were inflicted on Rick after the shot was fired. In exchange for testifying against her friends, Susanna was able to avoid the death penalty that now loomed over Chelsea and Andrew. Despite Susanna's earlier lies, her final version of the story became the foundation of the prosecution's case. Friends of the Wamsley family found it difficult to believe that Andrew, raised by loving parents, could have been involved in their deaths. However, the testimony of Susanna was damning. On July 1, 2004, 7 months after the murders, the authorities formally charged Andrew and Chelsea with the killings. Chelsea's behavior in prison didn't help her case. She boasted about her involvement to cellmates and even attempted to convince some to fabricate an alibi for her. Her initial alibi, provided by Jeremy, fell apart when Jeremy admitted that he wasn't with the group that night, having been manipulated into lying. Chelsea, once a bubbly high school student, was painted as the mastermind behind the entire operation. The prosecution argued that she manipulated Andrew into believing they would be better off without his family and persuaded Susanna to carry out the killings. Chelsea even wrote a note to Susanna from jail, begging her to place the blame on Hilario and pleading that she and Andrew's unborn child deserved a future. Susanna, however, doubted that Chelsea was actually pregnant. Susanna's testimony was crucial in securing convictions against both Chelsea and Andrew. After a swift deliberation, the jury found Chelsea guilty of capital murder. They sentenced her to death by lethal injection. Andrew's defense team, citing his schizoid personality disorder, managed to convince the jury to spare him from death row. Instead, Andrew was sentenced to life imprisonment with the possibility of parole after 2044. During his trial in 2006, Andrew claimed that he killed his parents due to years of emotional and physical abuse, but the jury rejected his defense. Hilario, though not directly involved in the murders, was found guilty of conspiracy to commit a felony and sentenced to 50 years in prison with the possibility of parole in 2023. Chelsea, who was once slated for execution, had her sentence reduced to life in prison in 2012 after Susanna's testimony raised doubts about her role as the primary instigator. As for Susanna, she remains incarcerated with the possibility of parole in 2034. What started as a plot for a carefree life left the trio with long prison sentences, ensuring they won't have to worry about their futures for many years to come. Thanks for tuning in to Unreal True Crime. If you're intrigued by mysteries from around the world, check out our new channel, Latin Crimes, where we dive into the gripping true crime stories of Latin America. Don't miss out. Subscribe now for more thrilling investigations.